Yeah. Obviously, I thought from a standpoint of, like we talked about Saturday, from a standpoint of how hard we played and how long we played, was very encouraged by that. I thought that our physicality was really good. I thought, after the game, watching it, I thought that that was probably what stuck out the most for me was just the physicality at which we played. I really thought that we did not get hit. And coming out of that game, obviously our kids are a little bumped and bruised and all of that, but I would imagine their kids are too. So I was very, very encouraged about that. And obviously going into this week against UT Martin, the biggest thing right now is just trying to develop a lot of confidence in what we're doing. We set out to do that a little bit last week, and I thought we did that. I thought you could tell that we did that just by the effort level at which our kids played. And we'll look to continue that and improve that going into this week, because obviously this is a huge week and a huge game for us.
You guys didn't get, Lamar Jackson had a couple of really nice runs, but you guys didn't really truly get big play. Was that the game plan going in? Do not get fired by 70, 80 or touchdown?
Yeah, that's obviously that's always your game plan from a defensive standpoint is limit the big plays. Kill the run, limit the big plays. That's what we want to do all the time. But especially with a guy like Lamar Jackson, it wasn't like he broke off for any huge runs or anything like that. And he did what he does. He's the best player in the country for a reason, and I still call him the best player in the country because right now nobody's taking that belt from him. He's still the best player, and he's the one holding the trophy in his living room. So going into a game like that and being able to somewhat manage him and then not get hit. The only big play that we got hit on, we had tremendous effort right there before the half, and we went down there and caused a turnover. It turned into a turnover. So was very, very excited about the way we played defensively and the effort level that we played against a guy like that, because he's impressive now. I was watching him warm up before the game, and I think Coach Adams looked at me and said, "Hey, you want to know how you become the 17th ranked team in the country?" I said, "How's that?" He goes, "You go get one of those," and because he was down there throwing and he looked like a wide receiver. He's all that he's built up to be. He's pretty good.
Outside of the one penalty on the first drive, your offense showed a little bit of promise, moving the ball down and getting that field goal. Is that kind of play calling and that kind of execution what you're looking for on your offense?
Oh, no, not really. We've got to improve. I've never in my coaching career gone 2 weeks where we didn't have more than 100 total yards of offense. So no, it's not. That's nowhere close to. I was nowhere close to being happy. I still rode the whole bus ride home with the light above my seat, making notes and watching the thing and trying to figure out where we go from here. But I did think, we were able to complete some balls. We were able to get Corey a little bit more comfortable back there, got the ball out of his hand a little bit. We still got to find ways to run the ball, which obviously we knew that was going to be a tough task going against the defensive front like that. But we've got to do that. We've got to be able to do that. We protected well. I think Coach Adams gave me a cool stat. He wasn't going to put his stamp on it yet yesterday, but we're one of the first teams versus an FBS opponent to not give up a sack, I think, is what he told me. So, obviously we can build on that. But, the long answer to your question is no, I was still not very pleased with the offensive output. I thought we did better in some spots, but not pleased at all.
Talk about Martin a bit and your quarterback Troy Cook.
Yeah, he's a really good player. He's an old player. He's like the coach on the field out there, so they can do an awful lot with him. I think that's the tricky part. It's always the tricky part of Simpson's offense is they're so good at so much stuff, and when you got a quarterback like that that's been around, they can just be so much better at so much more stuff because he can handle it. Obviously that's going to be a concern of ours. We've got to get him. We've got to rattle his cage a little bit, put some pressure on him, not let him sit back there and pick us apart. And then defensively, they're very aggressive in what they do. They play what looks like a lot of man coverage. A lot of times it's not, but it looks like it before the snap. So your quarterback has to be on his P's and Q's and understand what's going on from a coverage standpoint. And they're they're like Martin always is. They got very, very, very good players, and they're coached very, very well. And after last week, after Austin Peay going and beating them, I'd imagine they're going to be, it'd be like a hornet's nest down there. They'll be ill. They'll be pretty ill as we were, when we played Peace. So it ought to be a really, really fun environment.
When they lost Jamie Bowe at the beginning of the season before OVC Media Day, they had to announce their top running back was out for the year. What do you see out of a guy in Ladarius Galloway that has come in and answered every question at running back?
That's it. He just came in and answered all the questions. They just kind of picked up. They picked up the pieces and moved on. And I think that's the reason why I think Simpson does such a great job. Is they're deep. Especially at this level and in this conference, they're pretty deep at all of their spots. One man goes down, they don't have to shuffle a whole lot of things around, to make up for that. And it's no different at the running back spot. The first guy goes down, the second guy comes in, and he's just as good as the first guy. So he's done his job. He's done what Simpson wanted him to do in that role, and he's done it well.
Have you guys had a chance to look at the Austin Peay UT Martin tape?
Mm-hmm.
What did Austin Peay do to shut out an offense that's been so successful?
Well, it was more so. I think it was more so UT, and I'm not taking away from Austin Peay because obviously their defense is very, very good. But UT Martin also shot themselves in the foot a little bit. I think they had three turnovers or 4 turnovers, something like that. So they shot themselves in the foot a little bit too. It was just kind of one of those, I guess you would call it, ugly games, And I think that coupled with the intensity that Austin Peay's playing with right now on defense. It was very similar to our game against Austin Peay. They're doing a tremendous job down there right now, and but when you couple that with some turnovers, then obviously you're going to have it's going to be a tough game for you. I do want to say this. Obviously, a lot's been going on in the news. Thoughts and prayers, my thoughts and prayers, and football team in general. To all the victims and all the victims' families over there in the Vegas shootings. Crazy world we live in right now. Crazy world we live in, and just thinking about those people. And if any of those people are watching this, then just want them to know that we're thinking about them and praying for them.